Hey guys, we are gonna go live with RM Warner Law to discuss everything Jen Shah. All right, let's see. How's everyone doing on this crazy day? Did you join yet? Oh, well, Dorinda actually just requested. While we wait for the law firm to come in, let's have Dorinda give her 2 cents. Whoa! What is going on?
What is going? Hold on. What's up? FacesByBravo. What is going on?
The Bravo world's insane today.
The Bravo world is insane. I'm doing Instagram Live with Faces of Bravo.
Hello.
Hello.
What are you guys up to?
We are in Puerto Rico at the Dorado. It is so beautiful. I couldn't believe, I released my book today, Make It Nice. I didn't see you acknowledge it.
I didn't see. I've been so busy reporting.
It was an e-television.
Oh my
Faces
gosh.
of Bravo. I just said to.
Oh. I don't know if it was my. There you are.
Can you imagine that happened?
Yeah, this is what a day. Like we needed you to release it yesterday, so then this wouldn't be the same day.
No, that's fine. Those are two separate news worlds.
Totally.
I hope that I don't even want to be clumped in. Who would have thunk it, right?
You
know what? I actually was very disappointed when I heard those tapes about and
about what?
Oh, Hannah's not into Bravo. Hannah doesn't watch Bravo at all.
What tape?
Do you know my daughter doesn't watch Bravo at all?
That's not true.
Not at all.
Well, but pretty much not anything else.
I'm really into game shows. I love game shows.
What game shows specifically?
Don't get me started on Family Feud. It's my favorite.
But I think that is very
What are you guys talking
sad and sort of salacious, right?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that it goes back as far as 2012, and that's
Let me ask you something. Why would she be on the show then?
That has always been my biggest question is when someone has something like this in the background, why go on reality television, especially if you actively know what you're doing.
I remember right before I started and they put you, all the interviews and stuff. And one of the people, the higher up said, now listen, just want you to know before you sign on, like if you have any skeletons in your closet, they will come out. I'm like, well, let them dance out because of course I have skeletons like everyone else, but I'm okay with it. Right. I believe they're just stepping stones and mistakes and not skeletons. And because the one thing about being on reality TV, it always comes out.
Right. And that's why we've all been sort of saying today, like, how could you go on television knowing all of this? But narcissism is wild. It's a disease.
Well, narcissism is dangerous.
Yeah.
And fame, I always say fame is the worst mistress ever if you allow it to be. It's like any mistress that's an aphrodisiac, it'll take you down the rabbit's hole.
Right.
It's the ultimate drug, and probably the ability to obtain fame probably outweighed the fear of getting caught.
And Mandy, another girl that covers Bravo stuff, we were live earlier, and she brought up a good point. I wonder if it also she got into a point where your mind was able to justify everything that was being done, and like you almost forget that it's wrong.
Well, I think it's bigger than
right.
that. I think the one mistake that people make about reality TV and stuff is that you can control it. You can't.
Right.
Once you're out there, you have to just. It's a very tough beast.
Right. It's
and
true.
You just have to, not fight it. You have to sort of like tame it a little bit. I don't know. I just think I was surprised.
Well, I brought on Raees, who's a partner from RM Warner Law, to like help break some of this down because again,
Well, I'm
law
gonna
for
go
me.
and let you do that. I just was really calling to let you know that
Your
make it
book,
nice and you my book, and I didn't say anything. I'm gonna send it to you, and I'm hoping a little love.
please. I will absolutely cover that. I'm so glad that you came on to tell me that because I'm ready to read that.
Thank you.
All
Well,
right.
go ahead, Raees. I'm gonna watch it and watch you break it down.
All
Thank
right,
you,
thank
Dorinda.
you. Bye,
Nice to see you.
Dorinda.
Bye.
Hey, Raees.
Hey, how are you?
How's it going?
Good. Interesting afternoon, to say the least.
It has been a wild afternoon. Thanks again for joining me to help break a lot of this down because for me, you know, there's a lot of legal stuff out there that I just am unfamiliar with. So I would love for you to sort of break down everything that is being alleged, what she's sort of looking at, and what we kind of can expect to actually come out of this.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to make this as non-legalese as possible. Really just break this down to the basics and try to get everybody some value out of what I know. So first of all, I'll say some context. I represent, e-commerce entrepreneurs, people in the internet law space, right? So I've represented people who have done business opportunities, which is one of the things that she's accused of doing fraudulently. And I've represented people who sell legitimate leads, so I know what that looks like, right? So here's what I'm looking at. I am looking at a 10-page indictment, which is coming out of the United States District Court from the Southern District of New York. That's a particular federal district. It doesn't matter that she's in Utah because the nature of her business crosses state lines. And the states that she's alleged to have been running the scam, as alleged, includes Arizona, Nevada, Utah, New York, New Jersey. And I would not be surprised if state attorneys general jump on the bandwagon. So we'll talk about the snowball in a second, because this is pretty scary. This is just the surface level, just a scratch on the surface. So there's, at the crux of this, and this is all new, and so this could change at any minute, but there's three main counts. I mean, there are three new sort of allegations that are being brought, right? So one is for wire fraud. We'll talk about what that is. The second is for money laundering, basically covering up the wire fraud. And the third, which is the scariest, is civil forfeiture. So let's just kind of dance through the three of these. And it may even be helpful to your viewers to just talk about what the heck she was doing, right?
Yes.
So there's a quote that she gave. So I'm going to use her words, okay, as long as this quote's accurate. This is the quote that she gave to a Bravo rep relating to a show. She said, quote unquote, "My background is in direct response marketing for about 20 years. So our company does advertising. We have a platform that helps people acquire customers. So when you're shopping online or on the internet and something pops up, we have the algorithm behind why you're getting served that ad." I am questioning that because serving ads on the internet, depending on the platform, is the job of an intermediary like Google. So if Google was serving these ads, then certainly she's not the one who's causing the ads to pop up. Now, I can't make a claim to knowing her algorithm or exactly what she does, but the truth is that she's claiming she's in the internet advertising world. Direct response marketing is basically what it sounds like. You usually do direct-to-consumer advertising, and you do that because there's fatter margins. You're cutting the middleman out. That makes sense.
Right.
So she gives us some mumbo-jumbo about what she's doing. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You don't, as a federal prosecutor, make allegations like this without evidence, usually preliminary evidence. And so we know that she got arrested, which means they have probable cause to believe a crime was committed. And usually, in my experience representing business opportunities, it's because there were complaints by consumers, multiple complaints. This is not something that all of a sudden just happens, right? So like the comment you made earlier was, this has been going on since 2012. Well, I bet what's going to come out of this is that hundreds of consumers had lodged complaints in these various states, probably New York being the number one. And what's really sad about this, and we'll talk about the specifics of the allegations, what's really crazy about this is that all of the alleged victims are over 55. So this was somebody who was targeting an elder demographic.
Yep.
And here's why that's a problem. There's nothing wrong with selling products to older people who need it, okay? The problem is they're a vulnerable part of society. They don't read the fine print, right? They have credit cards. They have the money. They're looking for opportunities to supplement retirement. And that's the sad part, is you're cutting skin off of somebody's back who doesn't have a lot there to begin with. These are not entrepreneurs who are wildly successful. These are people who may be saving to pay bills that are not covered by Medicare, right? So, so anyway, the allegation is the following: that she carried out a wide-ranging telemarketing scheme. And the reason why, you know, the hair on my back stand up is telemarketing is highly regulated as it is. Highly, highly regulated. Mm-hmm. I used to do telemarketing like 20 years ago, and I was a top performer. And you have to cross your T's and dot your I's, right? The calls get recorded. There's a verification process. The second thing that she's doing that causes me concern as a lawyer is she's in the what we call business opportunities. I don't know if you're familiar with the term, but that's a very specific term, business opportunity. Here's what that means. If you're in the business opportunity, think of it as marketing a franchise. Yeah. You're basically selling other people the chance to build their own business. And if you've seen any of these ads on YouTube, right, you've probably seen them too, like make money today. You know, it's like from back in the day, stuffing envelopes. Remember those ads that used to get, like, you can make money working from home stuffing envelopes? So the allegation is her and Stuart Smith, her assistant, engaged in a widespread, coordinated effort to basically sell leads to people who made an initial investment to then market to those leads other fraudulent business services. So there's two layers of this. One is the leads, how you got the leads and selling those leads. That's number one. Number two is her scheme that she had built, allegedly, to then defraud people that were participating in the selling of the leads. So you got the leads and then the participants, both. And I'll go in order of the allegations in the indictment just because it's easy to organize, but it's really, really scary. Really scary. Let me just say real quick for people that are joining, because I see a lot of people saying, what are we talking about? We're talking about the Jen Shah, Stuart, the allegations that, and they were arrested today for wire fraud. Sorry, it was wire fraud. What else? Wire fraud, money laundering, and civil forfeiture. Yep. Civil forfeiture. And this is Raees. He is a partner at the law firm RM Warner Law, and he's sort of breaking it down for all of us, sort of in terms that if you're don't have a law background, for us to understand. And by the way, you're getting a lot of love in the comments. Everyone says you are very handsome, so I'm just going to let you know that. Thank you. Thank you. You can follow us if you want to see more handsome pictures of me, right? That's a compliment. Yes. I appreciate that. So here's what I think is just to touch this issue real quickly. How foolish are you to go on a reality TV show while you're doing this? I mean, that's what I don't understand that, because unless, I mean, narcissism is the only thing I can think of, or literally you think you will get away with it. So here's the deep part of what she was doing. Again, I'm getting this from the indictment. I have it in front of me. This is a legit legal document filed by New York prosecutors in the Southern District of New York. It's public record, subject to change. But what they're saying is she created a scheme. So what they would do is they would have these leads. So let's say you're 65-year-old retired gal, and you get a call. Hi, this is so-and-so from this company. I had your name, and we don't know where she got the leads from. But I got your name from such and such person, and I hear you're interested in generating more income or a side hustle. So elderly person on the other end, yeah, that sounds good to me. What do I have to do? Oh, no problem. it's XYZ dollars to sign up. And usually in these scams, you pay like a $20, something small to sign up.
Right.
$20 comes in, doesn't really pay for anything, goes in somebody's pocket. The next step, and this is what's alleged, is that the entire sales floors, and by the way, there's like at least 5 or 6 of these sales floors that are cold calling these leads, okay? So this is massive. This is not 5 guys
those
or
people
5
will
gals.
get in trouble too, correct?
Say that again?
And will those people be getting in trouble too?
So they're named as participants. You know, they qualify as participants. I think the feds are interested in getting to the top of this scheme,
Sure.
and then they'll trickle their way down, right? But
Right.
You're right. I mean, there are many players to this. There's layers and layers of this stuff. So what they allege is that Jen Shah and Stuart Smith controlled all aspects of this fraud, and they created these coaching sales floors. So basically what they would do is they would say, not only do you sell, you know, to this lead and get some money up front for this opportunity, but then you sell them more services, right? That they don't need, bogus stuff. Oh, you're running a web business. We'll coach you. Pay us $500 a month. We'll coach you on how to do it. There goes that. Then there's another. Oh, you want to really build up your fulfillment center? Hey, we can do that for another $500 a month. Why don't you do that? Why don't you sign up for that? And it's a perpetual wheel, right?
Right.
And so they clearly state that they operated these coaching and fulfillment services, which the feds allege was completely empty and just devoid of any legitimacy. And this includes some sort of products. They don't tell us what the products are in the federal indictment, but there's some sort of products that are peddled. And what you get as a lawyer reading the indictment is this is essentially, it's not a pyramid scheme, but it is a bogus just scam designed to, again, cause the money to come down this pyramid-like structure where they're at the top. And they even allege that Stuart and Jenna actually designed the compensation scheme. So they knew what they were doing. They're like, you know, $5 goes here, $10 goes here. This is where it goes.
They're alleging that they are the top, correct?
They are the top. They controlled the scheme. They structured the scheme. They had every opportunity to warn people or pull the, you know, it's a house of cards, right? One
Right.
comes out, the whole thing's gone. But these coaching sessions are ridiculous. I'll just read this, right? It says in the indictment.
How is it not a pyramid scheme? Can you clarify that?
Yeah, pyramid schemes, typically what you do, what the typical pyramid or Ponzi scheme is, you get paid, or actually it's a pyramid scheme, not a Ponzi scheme, is you get paid just for bringing in somebody. There's no real product. So you recruit somebody, you charge them a fee to get in, but there's no underlying business. This is different in the sense that they're actually allegedly selling something, and there's commissions paid through, right? So it's not how big your team is necessarily, but how many sales you do. So slight difference. So Jen Shah, allegedly what she did, I'm going to read this. They say at the outset of the business opportunity scheme, certain participants employed a purported fulfillment company, sent victims an electronic or paper pamphlet providing so-called coaching sessions, purporting online for some purported online business, but at no point did the defendants, meaning, you know, Shah and Smith, but no point did the defendants intend that the victims would actually earn any of the promised return on their investment, nor did the victims actually earn any such returns. Again, you're pitching this idea that, hey, we're going to make you rich, we'll give you coaching, we'll give you fulfillment, but here's the difference. If I have a legitimate business and I make efforts to do that, and you're not successful, that's okay. But what the allegation is, this is an intentional thing. Like, there really is no coaching. There really is no real product. This is complete fabrication.
Kind of like
And
Trump University, in a sense.
say that again?
Kind of like how Trump University was.
Essentially, right? Essentially, that's right.
He allegedly worked on that, I think, per LinkedIn.
No, it's unbelievable because, again, you're talking about a span of almost 11 years. And I would be shocked, and this is something maybe your viewers can even check out. I haven't had a chance to do this, but I would be shocked if there's not public-facing complaints about her. Now, here's the interesting thing. She structured these businesses in a way that she was not on the face of the business. So she's not in the corporate records. She's not even on any of the documents. So it's like she's concealing her involvement.
Is it like she opens up, opens up shell companies or something?
You know, it's yet to be seen, but and there may be legitimate reasons. Maybe she was like, hey, I have intentions. Maybe in 2012 she knew she was going to be a TV star, right? She's like, I don't want to ever be I don't want to be tied to this business. That didn't work, right?
Right.
But here's just getting into the crux of the wire fraud, right? So wire fraud is not difficult to prove. And these allegations, by the way, 30 years in prison is the maximum sentence, 30 years. And when we're talking about a scheme that goes across country, there has to be thousands of victims. And again, it's early, so we haven't seen the records, but typically in cases like this, and it's alleged, and this is where I'm going out of order, but this is where it gets crazy. The feds have pled a civil forfeiture, which means they plan to go after her assets immediately. They're asking a judge to say, we want to seize her house, her cars, her clothes, her bank statements. We want to get our hands on it because, Your Honor, we're afraid that this stuff's going to disappear. And so civil forfeiture is one of the scariest things. It's basically, or criminal forfeiture. It's an immediate opportunity for the feds to show like very little evidence, but get their hands on what might disappear.
Speaking off of how you know there was a lot of complaints, I guess, across the country that you're saying. I don't know if this has any sort of meaning, but I did get notified that there was over 200 SARs reported against her. The suspicious activity reports. Does that something that means anything towards this, or is that?
Yeah, well, suspicious activity reports relates to banking usually. Like there's some suspicious banking activity. And here's what's interesting. They've alleged count 2 is money laundering. So you're moving proceeds, basically in layman's terms, you're moving proceeds of unlawful business activity around, and you're trying to conceal it. Boom, that's money laundering. And what the feds allege is she had set up offshore bank accounts. Again, query why you would do that. And I know people who have set up legitimate offshore bank accounts, okay? But that's usually for down the road retirement or something else. Why is she setting this up at the face of this business? It makes you scratch your head a little. See what comes out of this, you know, from a discovery standpoint. Like when the feds actually start getting into this and there's hearings and there's evidence produced, you know, bank records are subpoenaed. I mean, we're at early stages of this. We haven't seen those things yet. So we don't know how much money was involved, how much she's made.
So being that she could potentially face 30 years, is that something, I mean, like if say she has a completely clean record, all of that, is that something that we actually would see her receive? Because I know we see a lot of people, they may face a maximum of this, but they only get, 5 years or less even. I don't know. Is that something you would predict where because she's the top and they probably will want to make an example that she will probably face more?
Yeah, there's a wide range of possible criminal implications here. It could be, 6 months in a penitentiary, right? In a federal prison. It could be 33, it could be 30 years. So there's a huge space. So what controls that, I think ultimately, is how many victims there are and what kind of deal she tries to strike. Maybe she comes out and she says, look, I have $10 million in my foreign bank account and I am going to use it to pay what we call restitution. So pay these victims back.
Right.
Or maybe they start peeling the onions and like, dude, this lady was Satan. Like there's so many more things that she's done. She's sold the credit card information, or she's charged. A lot of these people have to file bankruptcy to stop. Here's what they do in some of these illegitimate biz ops. They set you up on a subscription billing and make it impossible to cancel.
Yeah.
And so you're getting this $500 charge, $500 charge. You're like, what the heck do I do to get out of this? And your only recourse sometimes is to maybe cancel the card, or if you don't know, sometimes you have to file bankruptcy. I mean, it's crazy.
Insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How fast do we predict this whole process will go? Because, you know, obviously all of the preliminary was today. Like, what are next steps? And like, is this something where it's going to be drawn out for a long time, most likely, or, you know, something we could see being quicker?
So cases that are this high profile tend to, like, the prosecutors want to move fast, and they have, you know, victims have a constitutional right to move this case fast. My guess is the feds are going to say, listen, we don't even know the extent of this, so they're going to offer her something. They're going to say, if you want to own up and volunteer and give us, we have an obligation to get all the evidence. If you want to give that to us now, and we can wrap our arms around how expansive this was, maybe we'll go downstream to these other call centers. Right. The people who are running this and making commissions off this. Maybe we'll run it downstream. But here's the problem. In usually these kind of biz ops, the gal at the top, in this case, two people at the top, are making the lion's share of the profits. So that's where the money is. So it'll be interesting to see if there's a plea or something offered. And who knows, maybe the prosecutors are so confident they don't offer anything until it's almost trial time.
What would a normal, I mean, I'm sure this is hard to answer. Like, what could you see a plea being for something like this?
I would have to believe that they are going to ask for a permanent bar, meaning she cannot operate a telemarketing, you know, internet sales marketing company, period. Permanent ban. I would believe that they would say, look, we want a minimum sentence. You know, we're going to put you on probation for 5 years. But which means if you trip up during those 5 years, you get prison time, you get jail time. And maybe they force her to do some jail time. You know, and again, I don't know if she has a criminal history, and I don't know. I don't know what defenses her counsel is going to make, but this is the kind of thing that it's over such a long period of time and so expansive that, you know, I don't know how you just let this slide. And the fact that she was a Real Housewife star, I think, makes prosecutors more hungry, you know, to put the kibosh on her. That's what I think.
I mean, that I would imagine, because like it's almost being just so carefree and putting yourself out there, throwing this money around that potentially you're making from defrauding all these people. So I'm sure that would make them have more reason to hold her more accountable.
Well, you know, one thing I think people are wondering about too is, you know, her husband, Coach Shah, right? And my understanding is he coaches football at Stanford.
I know he coaches football. I actually can't remember where, but yeah.
And I mean, look at how profile this is. Again, those are facts that make prosecutors go googly-eyed. Like, oh, we can when a spouse is committing fraud at this scale, they are going to automatically wonder. And my understanding is he's the one who tipped her off, like, hey, the feds are here to look for you, and she made up an excuse that she had to go to the hospital. And so the question is, was he complicit in any of this? Like, did he understand what his wife wasn't running a simple, you know, internet marketing company. She was scamming elderly people, allegedly.
So we were talking about this earlier and didn't know the answer. So say he has his own bank account and whatnot. When they're seizing everything, is his included because they're married, or would that only count for their shared marital assets?
So real quick correction. I think I said Stanford. University of Utah is where he coaches. My fault. So there's a possibility, because what they're going to do is they're going to try to trace this. You know, they're going to try to trace it. And, you know, they're going to look at this from the standpoint of not assuming although our criminal justice system is, you know, innocent till proven guilty, the way that this indictment reads with the civil, you know, with this forfeiture action, it's kind of like there's victims. Remember, there's elderly who paid all this money. So any account that has that potentially money, they're going to grab a hold of. And the fact that she, you know, another fact, she didn't have her name on these accounts, or they're under aliases and overseas. So they're going to suspect that maybe her husband was used as a utensil in this as well.
Right. There was some, shoot, let me think. There was something else I wanted to ask. I'm blanking on it right now. Oh, sorry. For as far as Bravo, or not Bravo, but like the production company, will there be any sort of like halt that they would be required to halt filming during all of this? Or, I mean, obviously she herself could, like, probably her lawyer could say you can't do the rest of the show or whatever. But as far as like the people that are, you know, have been filming this whole time, are they going to be required to stop at some point during all of this?
You know, interesting question, because what I would say is I don't know that prosecutors would require that they stop filming. You know, it's kind of unrelated. But what I think would be interesting is if Bravo basically canceled her contract and said we want nothing to do with this. On the other hand, there's also the entertainment aspect of this. Let's face it, they're in the entertainment business. You know, they allegedly have footage of her getting arrested. How cool would it be if they incorporated that as part of the show?
Well, allegedly, you know, cameras were in the courtroom. I did get informed from a local news person that production was in the courtroom and cameras were outside, I believe.
Yeah, and if she's being filmed in public and she's getting arrested, there's a right to film that. I mean, they're not intruding on anything. It's right in the public's eye. In fact, this is the problem when you're a TV star and this stuff happens, especially reality TV. Cameras are going to be up this court's wazoo, left and right. Any hearing that they're entitled to attend, they're going to attend. They're going to film it, I would guess. And maybe there's contracts that limit their ability, but I would think in the entertainment world, this is good. This is good stuff. This is juicy.
So if you were Jen Shah's lawyer, what would you be advising her how to navigate this? What do you foresee her strategy?
I would say, unless you want to be eating, you know, prison schlop for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and mopping floors, you need to cough up the money. You need to cough up as much money as you can. It better be 7-8 figures. Again, we don't know how many victims there were. You better agree to not do this business or anything close to it for the rest of your life. And you agree to rat on everybody that's in the house of cards. That's usually how it goes. Bottom line, main elements. You know, if it turns out that she wants to play hardball, sometimes that happens. Sometimes they see that, oh, they can't prove intent. They can't prove that I was defrauding people knowingly. This was an accident. I didn't know I was supposed to follow the law. You know, there's all these. Usually those defenses are not good, but who knows?
So with her having all these offshore accounts, you know, potentially, are they able to trace all of it? Like, are they going to be able to get a lot of this money? I don't know. Like, what do you, like, have they found a lot of it? Or is this just where they think that money is going? Or what's...
The fact that they raised in the indictment the allegation that she has created aliases or, you know, put other people into these companies and is having this money overseas is going to make any judge cringe. And so they're going to be entitled to discover where the money is. And again, if she's smart, she's not going to play hardball with that. She's not going to look at this as her retirement and move to the Cayman Islands. She's going to say, I will bring the money here. I'll produce records of how much is in the accounts. I screwed up. I'll take a good deal. And again, depending on where, we don't know where it is. When she says offshore, Is it Panama? Is it Cayman Islands? Is it Cook Islands? You know, is it someplace where U.S. has jurisdiction? Is there reciprocity? All those questions come up from a legal standpoint, but they're going to go hard on her for sure.
And could you foresee, would there be a benefit on Stuart and Jen turning on each other in a way?
So this is a famous tactic that's used by prosecutors. And I don't know, I'm assuming they both have separate counsel. I think that's the case because I saw only one lawyer bringing Jen in and out of court today.
Right.
And I think there would probably be a conflict of interest too to represent them both, because the way I understood it, he's the assistant and he's taking orders. He's not the mastermind.
Well, that's what I'm confused about. Like he on the show was, you know, her first assistant, but I wonder if she even gives him that title just for, you know, the show or whatever. But in reality, maybe they are equal. I don't know. Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be still surfaced here. But if I were him, right, if I'm his lawyer and he has separate counsel, I'm going to say, I'm going to do the dirty thing. Let's strike a deal. Tell me what you know. Where's the money? That's the big, where's the money? How many victims? What? Give me the plans. Give me the drawings. Where's the emails? Give me the servers, right? Like, give me. Let's get you out of this. They want the real head honcho. You'll get probation. Tell us what's going on. That's what I'm going for. At this point, you have to think that way.
And how does someone get away with this for so long, though? This seems like something that should be a little more, you should be able to get, nip this in the bud early, but I don't know. It just...
This is what's interesting, right? And so from representing business opportunities in Arizona, what happens is usually consumers, in this case elderly, if they feel like they were wronged and they can't get their money back, they'll file a complaint with the local attorney general's office. You know, they'll file an AG's office complaint. When that happens, you need to get to probably a certain number, 10 or 15. There's a magical number. And the AG's office investigates. They send a letter. Hey, we're coming to do a physical inspection of your call center. Or we got this complaint. How do you want to resolve it? They give a chance to resolve it. Maybe they get refunded. So maybe they were prudent in refunding a lot of money. If people, you know what's funny? I actually read in the indictment, they said they had programs to teach people how to get out of refunds. So, you know, maybe that answers her question. But I have a feeling, because again, she's not tied to this in a way that's visible to the public.
Right.
That's the key here. So there might be 100 complaints about these businesses, the various businesses. And it's just a question of time before those people get brought in as well.
So how are they able to tie her to this if she's not tied to it? Does that make sense? I don't know if that's a tough question.
No. I think, number one, she was on TV making herself a target in the sense that she's kind of talking about this nefarious, again, I read the quote, you know, at the beginning of the recording, or today's live. My background is in direct response marketing for 20 years. Our company does advertising. And it may not have jived with what the show reflected. Mm-hmm. Plus, there's a good chance somebody said, I know who's behind this. There obviously people knew, because she had to get some sort of agreements in place to create the straw man or straw woman. Right. And so somebody knew, and they got tipped. I think the feds got tipped off. And so,
go ahead.
No, that's no.
So say they don't recover, like, again, Jen, like on the show, she was renting a home on the show. So I don't think she owned a home. And all this money is elsewhere. Say there isn't money that they can recover. How do they give restitution to these people?
You know, that's the problem, is they may be SOL, as they say. The victims may be SOL. They may have recourse with their credit card company. You know, there may be insurance policies that cover civil wrongdoings. Certainly not fraud. Most insurance commercial policies don't cover that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the biggest problem in these biz ops is when people get nailed and the money's gone. It was spent on plastic surgery and Rolls Royces that don't sell for very much when they're used.
Mm-hmm.
You're left with victims who were out a lot of money.
Yikes. Oh my gosh. So back to what you said towards the beginning, you could see state attorney generals coming into this as well. Does that mean she'll have multiple cases after this federal case?
Yeah, I see this as, again, if it's as grand as it's presented in this indictment that I'm reading, I think this is going to trickle into state attorney general's offices banding together or even separate. Like if I'm the Arizona attorney general and I'm hearing about this, I want to know what Arizona call center is running this scam, and I want to investigate them now. I want to find. I'm calling the feds. Hey guys at New York, do you have any information on Arizona? Send me the stuff because we're going to take action. And every AG's office is different, and they can be more or less aggressive. But I could 100% see that being a part of this. And then there's the civil side, right? There might be lawsuits that come out from people who felt like they were running a call center that they were scammed. Hey, I thought I was buying legitimate lead lists, like I was scammed. And if that's my client, I'm suing this lady civilly to recover my, how much I lost, and seeking all sorts of remedies.
If you guys have questions, viewers, go ahead and put some of these in the question box. I'm going to try and pull some of these up, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Let's see. Someone said, what does it mean that her husband has not yet been named at this point?
Yeah, so right now the indictment just lists two people. It's Jennifer Shah and Stuart Smith. At any point, prosecutors could amend and bring separate claims, and so he's not mentioned. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to try to freeze his bank accounts. They specifically actually say in this that, if we can't find these assets, we think it's because they've been commingled, and we want the ability to what we call trace the path of where these assets flowed. Okay.
Another interest, I think, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think her husband is also a lawyer, which I find interesting. So I wonder if he was maybe involved and, sort of a mastermind in his own right of how to sort of navigate this in a legal perspective. That was just, there's no truth as far as like whether he was involved. I was pointing that out, that he also is a lawyer.
Yeah, actually, let's. I know lawyers in Salt Lake City. It would be interesting. It says, Salt Lake City litigator. So it looks like he was a lawyer, Sharif Shah.
Yep, he was. Allegedly, I think malpractice law. I think.
Interesting.
Which, LOL.
Right.
Let's see. This person says, will she keep filming, or would you advise her against that? Would you advise her to stop filming?
Do not film another minute voluntarily. You're not on TV. If this is my client, you are off social media. You are off television. You are not doing jack until prosecutors have inked this deal. Period. That's my advice, because it's too easy to screw up or say something or do something that's going to cause more eyebrows to be raised. It's too easy, right? I mean, you're talking about reality TV stars. They're not exactly quiet-lipped.
And I would imagine the prosecutors are going to want to subpoena all of the footage, unseen and footage that had aired. Correct? That would I think so. I think so, and I think prosecutors are also going to want to talk to some of the other actors on the show. Like, hey, did she ever mention where she was going, what she was doing, where she banks? Like, when you went shopping, did you see what kind of credit card she had, what kind of debit card she had? Was she spending a lot of cash? Did you guys ever go out to eat? Did you see, like, there's a lot of questions there to dig. Wow. Let's see. What is this one? Hold on. Is there any possibility that Production and Bravo... Oh, no, I don't think Production and Bravo did not play a hand in this. I don't think that's the case. Or what are you, there's more. It won't let me see it. She was under investigation when she was cast. Any chance? Oh, so what do you think as far as prior to these people going on the show, what kind of, vetting do they need to do? Or is that just something that isn't done?
My guess is there's an interview process. I know people who have been asked to be a contestant for a reality TV show, so there is a casting process. How much they vet is a great question. Whether they actually, did background checks or even did deep interviews. But again, if I'm the show, if I'm Bravo and I'm an attorney for the show, I'm going to say that's not our job. Unfortunate as it is, we asked her what she does. We interviewed her. She has the type of personality that we would want on TV.
Right.
And it's sad and unfortunate that this is happening, but nothing to do with us.
Totally. Could the cast be banned from talking about the case and investigation while filming for the current season?
I would think, I'm assuming the question's talking about, whether, the show will preclude people, right?
Her other cast members. Obviously, Jen, I would imagine her lawyer will say, do not talk about it. But if the, other cast members, do you think they would be banned from talking about it?
Hard to do. I mean, I don't think, if I'm Bravo, I'm probably going to say, we have editorial rights, right? So we could film 36 hours of this, and maybe we don't air any clips of it because we're afraid that we're too close to it. Or maybe they go the other way, right? Because remember, we've seen this play before with Erika Jayne. This is not the first reality TV star that's been a massive fraud, whose husband was also a lawyer, funny enough.
Right.
Common pattern. So if I'm the show, I might be thinking, talk about it all you want, guys, because it's in the public's eye. We want the viewership, and maybe we'll break something new before anybody else does. There's nothing wrong with that.
Let's see. Does this seem more or less severe than the crimes of those like the Judices on Real Housewives of New Jersey and Erika Jayne's situation on Beverly Hills?
More severe or
different? I know that they're obviously very different crimes, but as far as severity goes with like punishment and all of that, do you see that as way more severe?
My thought is that this one could be more severe because it's hard to say because we don't have dollar amounts, right? And this is the issue that related to like the tax liens and the tax situation. We don't have real dollar. We're not working with real dollar amounts right now. So it's tough to know the scale and how deep it is. Again, this carries a potential 30 years in prison.
Right. Can Jen legally get the footage from this season removed by her attorneys?
Fat chance. Fat chance because, first of all, they have a right to film what's happening in public. There's no misrepresentation. There's nothing, private. If they had snuck a camera into her bedroom window and saw her talking with her husband, different story, right? But happening in public, there's no real way to remove or limit that.
So for Jen, I don't know if you know if this is common or not in a contract for her. If she wanted to get out of the show at this point, they're halfway through or more even, I don't know, and she wanted to get out, if Bravo wanted to make sure she finished out this contract, do you think they would, or do you think she couldn't get out of it? Or do most contracts have sort of like a clause like this to kind of, prevent that from happening?
Yeah, most entertainment agreements especially have, these provisions that say we can terminate you for cause, right? And they describe what cause is. And a federal indictment would probably qualify. Yeah. But again, maybe her lawyer will probably advise her not to do anything anyway. But if I'm the TV show, I'm thinking we want to get her on our show. We want her to make statements. We want to break this to people so they can hear it from us folks, right? If I'm running an entertainment show, that's what I would say. But her lawyers, her lawyers are not going to allow her to do that, I would think.
Well, that's maybe that I didn't voice my question right. Like, because I imagine Bravo say they want her. You know, we want to see how this all plays out, but she wants to get out of it. Will it be easy for her to get out of that contract, do you think?
Yeah. Oh, for her to get out? Yeah. I mean, most contracts will allow for a termination, but with some consequence. But under this circumstance, I would think it's probably mutual. It's probably mutual.
Okay. People keep asking about a mugshot. Will they? Do you think they'll be releasing a mugshot anytime soon?
It might already be up. Might already be up.
Where does one find it?
Probably, this is north. Well, where did she get arrested in Utah, right?
Yes.
So, but the agency, I think, was the FBI. So I think you would just go to the FBI's website for the mugshots. I'm sure it's probably there if it's not already.
Do you think that her cast members will be summoned for questioning? We kind of went over that, but do you think they probably will?
I absolutely think that they will be brought in for questioning, and because again, reality TV is the nature of it is you're talking about the intricacies, you're talking about private stuff, right? And I'm sure they will.
Do you think that? Oh wait, sorry, I didn't hit the other question. Can she get charged with evading arrest?
Evading because she was on notice. The way I understood it, and maybe somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, is she got tipped off. She got in a van, but people were looking for her. The FBI was looking for her, and they eventually found the fan because they were pinging her phone location. And I think she didn't run. I think she kind of said, "They're after me, pull over." So I don't know if that would count as evading, but certainly if she ran and she's trying to get on a plane or running away, she could.
Right. Is there a minimum sentence to serve? I know we know the maximum of 30, but is there a minimum on things like this?
It's hard to say because we have 3 different counts, right? So you've got the wire fraud and money laundering, and they could be stacked, I think, in Southern District of New York. So this, again, it's hard to say exactly. All we know that is when the dollar amounts start to surface, like how big the fraud was, that's when we're going to know, whether this is something that can be done away with in a plea with probation, or whether they're going to go for the throat, so to speak.
Do we know how long she's been under investigation? I know that things go back to 2012. Is that mean she's been investigated since 2012, or that they have been able to trace back that she's been doing this since 2012?
No, they've discovered that according to their belief and whatever documents they have, they believe that she was involved since 2012. But I don't know when the FBI was tipped off or actually discovered it. And usually what happens is, this gets investigated. Prosecutors want to make sure they can bring these claims and they stick. Right. And so they do what's called a tail, right? Like they follow this scam. They try to see how it leads back to Jennifer and Stuart. So I have to believe that they have some juicy nuggets with her moving money, something with her name on it, something with Stuart's name on it. They wouldn't bring this kind of claim like empty, is basically what I'm saying.
Does it allege how many employees and call centers that she had in the indictment?
No, but what they do say is they name the states that these call centers were located in, and they don't say how many in the indictment itself, but there had to have been at least six or more. So this was a pretty big operation from what it sounds like.
How does the University of Utah respond because that info is talked about, and can we expect a divorce ASAP? I don't know, like, would you foresee, because Coach Shah is married to her, do you foresee the University of Utah taking some sort of action?
You know, if I'm University of Utah, I want to make a statement, because we all know that fans are going to do it on their behalf if they don't, meaning allegations will start running. So
right.
Yeah, I think they should say something, you know. In fact, I'm waiting to see if her husband makes a statement.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen anything from him?
I have not yet. Let's see. Would there be any advantage of them getting divorced by any chance? Like, you know, I don't know if, like, would that help with assets or anything like you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, so in terms of, like, was the question whether there'll be a divorce?
Well, there was that, but I was also thinking, like, you know, in the case of Erica, they were saying, you know, they're getting divorced because then they can sort of hide assets, allegedly, through Erica, and, you know, because they're going to go after Tom's money, right? Wouldn't that be
right.
like an advantage? So I didn't know, would there be any sort of advantage for them to get divorced in this scenario?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, maybe that's his strategic play, is he wants to limit exposure, and they want to do some planning, you know, what we call like a post-nuptial understanding, and they try to divide things up. The problem is, in the face of fraud, you know, the feds could literally ratchet into that agreement. Like, let's say they have reason to believe that some of this money was transferred into his bank account, or he's, you know, he purchased a home that he's living in, or is a rental property that is an ill-gotten gain, right, is what they call it. They can put a freeze on that. They could say, you're not transferring title to this property. You can do whatever you want in a divorce, but you're not transferring squat until we figure out how we're going to resolve this.
Yikes. Do you think Jen had any idea that there was, you know, they were not on to her, but do you think she was blindsided completely that something was coming? Because, you know, some people kind of are aware that, you know, maybe they would have conversations, or I don't know, like, do the cops sometimes come up and, like, you're being questioned a little bit, but you don't know how deep you are into it? Does that make sense? I don't know if that made...
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Based on the allegation, I think, and what I know about how these businesses are structured, you have to make a deliberate decision to structure them this way. You have to say, like, for BizOps in Arizona, there's a registration process. There's actually a statement you have to file. You know, there's disclosures you have to give.
Right.
I question whether she did that, and if she did, is she passing the blame, right? Is she going to say it wasn't me, it was those guys who ran with it? So I think, personally, I think she knew that you can't be selling marketing and business opportunity, fulfillment services, web services to people over 55 without knowing that this is questionable. I mean, think about that.
Right.
Unless they contacted you to say, hey, you're successful, I want you to coach me. That's not what we're talking about, right? That's
what I was thinking. I was like, honestly, what 60-year-olds are looking to start a side hustle from? I don't know. Maybe there are a lot more out there. That's just, to me, I'm thinking this doesn't sound like something that a lot of people would truly seek out at the 65 years old, 70 years old, you know?
I think personally, you know, my opinion is, I think she knew that she was on the edge. At the very least, that she was on the edge. Anybody in the BizOp world, anybody knows that you get requests for refunds. You know, customers tell you, hey, this is a scam. They will use those words. This is a scam. I want my money back. And because there's a whole process. There's training. There's a sales force. There's commission splits. There's a whole, this is not somebody just on a phone signing people up. There's a whole plan that goes behind it. So at the very least, I feel that she knew that she was engaging in really, really risky activity and either didn't care or thought she was, you know, too big to fail or a reality star. I don't know.
Right. What on for like an hour talking about everything with Jen Shah. So I'm reconnecting. If Raees is able to join us again, we will continue the live. If not, I will post the other live later. Let me see if he's able to rejoin us. Let's see. He is here. Wow, this is wild. Sorry about that. I think we went over our like allotted time. So would there be any reason that feds would alert Bravo or the production crew that, you know, we're going to be doing this ahead of time? Or do you think they had no idea, just like, you know, she did?
I am sure that they will alert, if they haven't already, that they've alerted the Bravo folks that we're going to want to talk to you. Right.
Sorry, I meant more like prior to Jen, like getting arrested and all of that.
I don't think the show had any idea. Right. I don't think.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, sorry. Did they alert like production or Bravo, like the feds, that, hey, tomorrow we are going to be, you know, arresting one of your, you know, reality stars? Or would they find out?
I don't think so. Yeah, no. I think it's 100%. We're kicking the door down style. Yeah.
Oh, damn. Jesus. Oh, this is for you. Is our chief Bravo legal correspondent single? And what is your Instagram?
Happily married. Yeah, I do have IG. My IG is boring. It's all food. You know, my personal IG is all food, but all the good stuff's on RM Warner.
What is the court appearance tomorrow with the Southern District of New York entail?
Yeah, usually there's an early hearing where they talk about, you know, the charges that are being brought. I'm honestly not sure what's on the docket for tomorrow, and you know, how it's going to flow. But I'll be interested. You know, I literally caught this maybe the story just a little while before your request to join this. But I think we're going to learn something new every single day.
Dang. They asked, how are Americans still able to legally open offshore bank accounts?
Well, there's a lot of legitimate reasons to have offshore bank accounts, right? There's a lot of reasons, and especially for future planning or for generational wealth planning. But it's a sticky situation for things like this, where at the start there may not be anything wrong with setting it up, but then you're moving money from fraud and laundering it overseas, and that's where it's a problem, right?
Right. Would you suggest Bravo making a statement, or do you foresee them making a statement?
Yeah, I think Bravo needs to make a statement. I think Bravo needs to come out and say that the truth. They had no idea, I assume, who this person was beyond what they record on the show. They're happy to cooperate with, you know, producing any copies of tapes, or they may even want B-roll or, you know, unedited footage. There's probably hours and hours of years of that stuff, right?
Right.
And so they need, if I were them and I were their counsel, I'm going to say, make the statement. The last thing we want is to have to deal with this stuff.
Right. Let me see if there's any. I think that's about it. The rest of the stuff I think we've already talked about. Let me see. Oh, why would prosecutors not seek detention?
Why would they not seek detention? I mean, why would they let her out on bail?
Well, so did they even let her out on bail? I thought it was they weren't even going to detain her from the start. I don't even know if it was a bail thing, right?
You know, it's a good question. There may have been a strategy on this. The fact that they let her, the fact that she's out right now is an interesting, peculiar query as well. That could change. that could change. I mean, usually in these kind of situations, somebody's a flight risk. That's the argument prosecutors make. This person could get on a plane, go to her foreign bank account and empty it all and move it again, and we'll never see her. So, you know, that may be coming. That may be coming.
Yeah, because I don't think she was, I think there was a statement saying from one of the reporters covering it, said they're not looking to detain her at all at this point. She just has to follow all of these instructions, of course. That just surprised me that she wasn't even, they weren't even gonna, like, she didn't have to post any sort of bail, I don't think, right?
Yeah. Interesting question. I don't know so much on why they did this the way they did, but if it were me and I'm the feds, I'm saying we're not offering bail, or I'm setting it extremely high, because we know, you know, she's probably going to use the fraudulent money to get out.
That's what I was also thinking. Like, if they're going to be taking everything, she wouldn't really have any bail money to post at that point anyway, right?
Yeah. So usually in these situations, they get it from other people.
Okay. Yeah.
And they because things are at this point pretty soon they're going to freeze her assets. I would think. I mean, the forfeiture action that they've pled in the indictment is intended to do exactly that. Is don't let this money go anywhere. Don't let the assets go anywhere until we figure out, you know, if it's legit or not.
There was a rumor that the feds had someone on her glam squad as part of like undercover. Would you imagine that there was someone working close to her like that was actually the informant? Or do you think this all came from, you know, the complaints from the people she was defrauding, allegedly?
I think there probably was the first domino of a complaint, and many complaints, but I have a feeling that, yeah, there was an insider. I mean, usually in these situations where somebody's high profile, somebody gets paid money and is placed as a mole. Either somebody that is placed or somebody who's turned, that's already on her team, you know, friends and family people.
How would you advise, as the other cast member's attorney, how would you advise them to protect themselves?
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good question, because on one hand, you want to cooperate, right? And especially these allegations. I mean, elderly people running a biz up scam. So I would say you have to cooperate. I think you have to be ethical. You have to show integrity. You have to show some spine, and you need to say, "This is what I know. Hey, she used to brag about having money in this bank account that is onshore, but it's in her cousin's name, or she has a, you know, irrevocable trust that she mentioned to people that." She was again. These are personalities are like kind of narcissistic. They're braggarts. They like to puff and tell people what it is that they do and how they do it. And so, I bet a lot of that happened. I don't think this was somebody who was very tight-lipped and somebody who nobody knows anything about in terms of the allegations.
Oh yeah, someone asked this: if she has all these multiple cases, would her sentences likely be combined? If she, you know, when it gets that far, I guess.
Yeah, prosecutorial discretion. I mean, they could be. They could be. What I know about Southern District of New York, it is very well known in the entire country to be, you know, very smart, have very smart lawyers, very tough prosecutors, and a solid investigative team. You know, lots of resources. So I would imagine, well, if these are charges from different states, then they would be charges from different states. But I think, I think what states would do, and I've seen this before, what states would do is they would kind of almost compete for restitution for victims in their state, and then at the end come to some common understanding that, hey, we've identified 200 victims, Arizona, Utah, New York, New Jersey, and this is the pool that's available, and this is how they're going to be split up.
Yeah, as someone who doesn't know like law or anything, like that's not my wheelhouse. I know the Southern District of New York is, they don't do this, and you know, unless they have a slam dunk, because they are really, you know, the top tier. they have that reputation. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is really, really serious.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that's about it. Is there any other last things that you want to chat about or plug?
You know, at our firm on our Instagram page, we try to follow these kinds of things as closely as possible. So if people are interested in these topics, you know, my area of practice is such that it overlaps with these things, then, you know, follow us. And obviously we're happy to post or do another IG live with you to talk about any.
I would love that.
But make sure you follow us. You know, our handle's up there. It's RM Warner. We also have a TikTok. We do a lot of cool, like, they're 1 minute legal hot takes. So our TikTok handle, same thing, RM Warner Law.
Amazing. Yes, I would love to. Hopefully we can follow this sort of together. And if, you know, we have some time, we can sort of go live again and sort of as the case progresses. That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Thanks for this opportunity.
Yes, thank you. Have a good one.
All right. Take care.
All right.